My name is Isabel Griffin. For 34 years, my life was the United States Army. I was a strategist in special operations, trained in the art of silent extraction and high-stakes decision-making. My record was closed, my medals hidden in a box that gathered dust, and my name was scrubbed from the family I had once sworn to protect. Last Sunday, I found myself standing outside a chain-link fence at the annual Griffin family military homecoming, an event that celebrates every uniformed member of our lineage. My father had the best seat in the front row. My brother was resplendent in his captain's dress blues. My niece, a new ensign in the Navy, spoke eloquently about our legacy. They laughed, they embraced, they called themselves the proud line of service. But when I asked simply to be present, to sit quietly in the last row, the answer was a firm no. I was not invited. I was not welcome. They said I had failed, that I had no right to be at a ceremony celebrating honor. They ridiculed me for a decision I made 15 years ago in Syria, an action they never understood and never cared to. You abandoned your command, my father told me once. You shamed the Griffin name. They never asked for the truth. They never wanted it. So I didn't protest. I didn't plead. I stood behind that fence in my civilian clothes while they read aloud the names of our family's celebrated heroes. My name was not among them. But 5 minutes into the ceremony, the ground started to shake. Not from music, but from engines. 20 Humvees turned the corner in a tight, thunderous formation. 200 soldiers emerged, a wall of disciplined silence, dust pluming behind them like a stage curtain. They didn't slow. They didn't hesitate. They surrounded the field. Then a black SUV stopped. The door opened, and out stepped a 4-star general. He walked past the stunned guests, past my father, who had risen to his feet, past the podium where my brother stood frozen, his speech forgotten. The general stopped directly in front of me, on the wrong side of the fence. He looked me in the eye, and in front of everyone, he snapped a crisp, formal salute. "Welcome back, General Isabel Griffin," he said, his voice clear and unwavering. Suddenly, it was my name that filled the air. The crowd fell into an absolute silence. Cameras stopped clicking. No one moved. My father was speechless. The man who declared me a failure could not form a single word. You want to know what I did to earn that salute? Why 200 soldiers appeared without warning? Why the same institution that stripped me of my title 15 years ago would honor me now? Then keep listening. If you only read the headlines, you'd believe I abandoned my mission. But if you listen, you will understand why I broke the chain of command to save 43 children, and why I remained silent for over a decade until the day my own family denied my very existence. I didn't come for recognition. I came to remind them that erasing my name does not erase the truth. And this time, I wasn't the only one who remembered. I didn't flinch when the first engine roared. I knew that sound intimately. The low, muscular growl of tactical diesel, a synchronized movement that was anything but a civilian parade. This was no National Guard display. The noise intensified. Chairs rattled. Children covered their ears. Guests squinted towards the street confused. "Are those Humvees?" someone whispered. They rounded the corner in perfect formation, 20 of them, American flags mounted on their sides, dust swirling in their wake. No music, no sirens, just silent imposing steel. 200 soldiers disembarked in rows of 10, not a single word spoken. The entire homecoming crowd was frozen. I remained behind the fence, my hands folded, my expression unreadable. But inside, my heartbeat steadied. My breathing became measured. I had requested exactly 45 minutes of declassification, no more, no less. And the clock had just started. The last vehicle halted at the center. Its doors opened, and out stepped General Marcus Thorne, commander of U.S. Army Central Command. 4 stars gleamed on each shoulder. A man I had not seen since the day he told me to take the fall for Syria. He didn't glance at the podium. He didn't acknowledge my father. He walked straight to the fence, stopped 3 feet from me, and saluted. Sharp, clean, unmistakable. "Welcome back, General Isabel Griffin," he said, his voice clear and unwavering. A wave of gasps rippled through the crowd. I heard my niece whisper, "Did he say general?" My brother's lips parted, but no sound emerged. And my father, who once told me I would never be saluted again, stood rigid, his eyes wide as the highest-ranking officer present saluted the daughter he had erased. Then behind General Thorne, every single one of the 200 soldiers raised their hands in unison, mirroring the salute. A silent, powerful wave of respect. I did not return the salute. Not yet. Instead, I stepped forward through the gate someone had quietly unlocked. I stood before them, my back straight, my shoulders steady. I nodded, not from pride, but from a place deep within, a knowing, a truth finally reclaimed. In that moment, the weight of 15 years shifted. Not because the world now believed me, but because I no longer needed them to. Before we continue, if you're just joining us from wherever you are in the world, whether you're watching from a quiet living room in London or listening on a long drive through Toronto, we're so glad you're here. If this story is resonating with you, please consider subscribing to the channel. It truly helps us bring more powerful stories like this one to you. Now, let's return to Isabel. If you want to understand why this happened, why a name once stained with shame now stood honored, you have to go back with me. Back to Syria. Back to the orders I was given and the one I refused to follow. Because the story they told was a lie, and the truth they buried, it's time to unearth it. In my family, every wall was a testament to service. The living room in my father's house was a gallery of generations, black and white portraits of great uncles in World War II, cousins in Desert Storm, my brother beaming in his academy uniform. Even my grandfather, pictured next to General Patton, held a sacred honor above the fireplace. The Griffins wore uniforms like a second skin. Service wasn't a choice. It was an expectation. You didn't ask if you would serve. You asked which branch. By 16, my path was set in stone. And for a time, my picture was up there too. A framed photo from the day I received my first commission, my hair tucked neatly under my cap, my jaw set with purpose. It hung just to the right of my brother's, slightly lower, because, as my father once quipped, rank goes left to right, oldest to youngest. For years, I stood proudly on that wall, not for the attention, but because it felt like home. It was proof I belonged. Every time I came home on leave, someone would say, "There she is, the one who outmaneuvered the boys." I'd smile and let them believe that was the whole story. But after Syria, after 2010, my photo vanished. No discussion, no argument.
One day, it was just gone, replaced by a watercolor of a bald eagle. Subtle, symbolic, final. My father never spoke of it, but my brother did. Months later, over dinner, after my name had been quietly removed from a family event guest list, he said, "You know why, don't you? You disobeyed a direct order. You pulled your unit out before command gave the signal. That's not bravery, Isabel. That's desertion. He said it as if reading from a manual, as if he weren't talking to the sister who taught him how to shoot, who stepped aside so he could get the promotion he wanted. In my family, that was the version that stuck. Isabel Griffin disobeyed. Isabel Griffin embarrassed the Army. Isabel Griffin lost her commission. Isabel Griffin fled. It didn't matter that I never had a public trial, that I was forced to sign a confidentiality agreement, that every action I took that day was to save lives. What mattered was that the name Griffin now had a stain, and no one wanted to look at it too closely. At my father's retirement dinner, I wasn't mentioned in his speech, not even as my daughter who served. It was as if I had never worn the uniform at all. And the worst part, I let them. Because telling the truth would have meant breaking a silence I'd sworn to keep. Defending myself would have revealed secrets that were never meant for the public. I thought if I stayed quiet long enough, they might see me again. But instead, they filled the empty space on the wall with silence. And over time, that silence hardened into conviction. You see, people don't need proof to erase you. They just need a story that feels close enough to the truth and a wall with one less photograph.